Hello, you amazing friends. I am so honored to be sitting here in my kitchen with a wonderful man right near the White House, Washington, D.C. He's a great man. He's Zev and he's a relationship expert. How you doing, Zev?
I'm doing really well, even though I don't like the winter. It's cold. It's very cold. There's snow outside, and they're expecting a pile tonight. I want to be at a beach. Lucky you. That's all.
Well, I now live 8 minutes from the beach, as we were talking about before, hence why I'm so sunburnt all the time
Well, you are one picture of health. That's all I
now.
would say.
Now, Zev, I know you're a busy man. So honored to have you with us. You work with amazing couples around the world, a lot of executives and that. Now, I was going to ask you, what crazy stuff have you experienced and seen that you want to tell us about during the whole pandemic? I imagine the pandemic pressure has amped up relationships. What have you got for us, Zev?
I think the most important thing, people aren't listening to their spouses. They're not hearing it. Either they're on overwhelm or they're just not hearing, because here's the kind of stuff that happens. I heard a story, person goes ahead and literally finds a new place, buys the new place, starts moving to the new place, calls him from the new place and tells him, hello, I moved. The end. You weren't listening. I tried to tell you. You were watching TV. You were like magnetic Netflix. You weren't listening. I couldn't get your attention. So I hope I have your attention now.
Wow. So just so I get it, so this person basically said, hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to move into a new place.
Just
And the other person just sat there, arms folded, watching Netflix and didn't care. And then all of a sudden were surprised.
I want our relationship to be better. I want this. Let's be closer. Let's try to do some things. Fell on deaf ears, so somebody did something radical. I mean, other stuff is people are abusing. There's tremendous abuse. If there was abuse before the pandemic, imagine the abuse during the pandemic, when you're frustrated, you're angry, and you have no self-control, and you could be a spouse abuser. And I don't think that those stories, excuse me, have quite come out yet. But they will. They're going to be the things of movies. They're going to be the things. I mean, we're still dealing with, pandemic coming at us. Here in the United States, people are crazy. People, I mean, the schools, there's a fight. It's huge. People want to go to work. The union, school union, we're not going to school. You kids have to stay home. What do you mean my kids have to stay home? I got to go to work.
Yeah.
My kids have to be at school. I don't want them at home. I don't want them running around. Also nutrition. Some of them get their nutrition at school. Some of them there's people who don't have it all together. And I just think there's a lot of callous disregard and political BS going on, and it causes family friction. If there's family friction already, imagine what it is when you can't go to work, you're stuck home, you're going to lose your job, he's going to keep his job, or she's going to keep whoever has the better job. Who knows? This is what we're dealing with, and that's just a small little parcel of the kinds of things. People hitting each other, people putting up with things they would never have put up with, because where are they going to go? This other lady who I told you about, she had a plan. That's a smart lady. I give her all the credit in the world. She tried. But other people, there is nowhere. They're going to go to the basement, where they're going to go live in the side room, or maybe in a closet. I don't really know. But relationships have suffered dramatically during the pandemic. It's no big news. It's an understatement. It's an understatement. And
No, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, and I've seen it. I see, even though I'm more of an influencer coach, networking leader, I see into the lives of a lot of people, and often I have both people on both sides of the battle privately telling me what's going on. That happens a lot to me, right? So whilst I'm not a relationship counselor and I don't pretend to be, I hear both sides of the story, and I was going to ask you, when two people are really clashing and really fighting with each other, and one of them speaks to you. What do you do to start the process to try and sort everything out? How does it work?
It's really according. I mean, if the first thing they say to me is, he hit me 3 times, that's a different thing. I'm going to say, but guess what? It's time to think about finding a place to go.
Yeah.
Right away, immediately, not tomorrow, a relative or somebody. So there's that. Then we're bored to tears. We're living.
Just to jump in, with the extreme cases, like a woman's been hit, right? Like, let's face it, most of the time be a woman. So a woman's been hit, right? So your immediate thing is you got to get out of there, because I suppose if they don't, they could end up dead, couldn't they, in those situations?
No question. And people have been very beat up, and it's significantly beat up. And look, people, we have a choice. And sometimes people don't know that they have other choices because they're afraid of the economics, and they have every right to be afraid of that. However, there are major indicators, and a fist, and a hand are indicators to me that it's time to go. If it's temporary, if somebody can get some help, I mean, all that's in the picture. But removal, time to go. Time to go.
So just on that, and while I've got you now, I mean, a bit of trivia for you. I'm ex-military, I'm ex-federal policing. So whilst I worked in drug enforcement, I did have a little bit of exposure to this type of thing, albeit I was more of a drug enforcement guy. But I want to ask you, when ultimately women get murdered, right? You get spousal homicide. We're talking that complete extreme there. My understanding is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I was a drug enforcement guy, not a homicide guy, but my understanding is that it starts with the insults. They don't just wake up one day and get murdered. It's a whole process of abuse that can occur over years till that person gets murdered. Is that right? Can you expand on that or correct me?
I mean, I can expand on it, but I can tell you, behind every door, of our world, where there's a home and a domestic situation, it's different. There's no one kind of place, of things going on. Someone learned to hit, somebody watched their parent hit, somebody watched their grandparent hit, intergenerational abuse. People hit without, it doesn't take much. If you've already, seen it in rehearsal with your father or your grandfather or an uncle or God knows what. The insults, they don't help, but what are you going to do? Somebody, calls you names and somebody treats you, crappy. You got to do something. So once in a while, yes, there's going to be an insult that flies out. However, that insult could be met with a pretty serious blow. And people, I'm not sure that people always know the danger that they're in, because they're worried about their security around the whole big picture of security. And that's their children, and that's themselves. But if they got a hitter, or they got a narcissist, husband who's like me, don't expect it to get better. Don't expect it to improve. You have to, at some point, take a position, plan beforehand, never plan off the cuff. Always, have a place to go, shelter, relative shelter, somebody who loves you and loves your family. Take you with open arms, because you're one hurt puppy when you come, into there. Take some getting over, and it's a horrible situation. And the pandemic has exacerbated this situation into the exponential level.
Now, I'm with you. And a quick one, Cullen Haynes is watching us. Can we give a big wave to Cullen Haynes on LinkedIn?
Hey, Cullen.
Cullen, we love you.
Cullen is the bookmobile. Cullen reads the books. I love looking at all the books he reads.
I now live about probably 14 minutes away from Cullen, so I'm now living near here.
You neighbors.
But I was just going to say, thank you, Cullen. We appreciate you. And Bradley Donovan's logged in. Hello, Bradley Donovan on Facebook. We love you, Bradley.
Hey, Bradley.
I was just going to say, if you're watching the recording, everyone, please reach out to Zev anytime and myself too. And if you're live, hit that like, hit that comment, leave a share. We appreciate it. Now, Zev, I want to ask you, and I've actually been doing this problem a lot because someone asked me an interesting question a few days ago. It's really steered my thinking. And I get abused every day, right? So I deal with a lot of people every day. If I don't get abused in a day, it's a talking point. There never goes one day where I don't cop. It's like, I get abused at least 3 or 4 times a day, right?
Got some haters out there, do you? Got some haters out there?
Yeah, I've been abused face to face. I get at least 3 or 4. It's part of the job of being an influencer. When you're a big influencer, you're going to cop that.
Because you have to weigh in. Yeah, you can't sit on the fence. You have to weigh in. And if you weigh in on the wrong side, for some people, the world's over if you're on the wrong side. You might as well. You're worse than dirt.
I know. All I can say is let's go, Brandon, on that one. But what I was going to ask you is a lot of people lately have asked me about narcissists, right?
Oh, okay.
And what's interesting, I've had some people who are narcissists accuse me of being a narcissist, the typical projection, right? If I'm a narcissist, I'm not a very good one, that's for sure. So I want to ask you.
I don't think you're a very good one.
Yeah, if I'm a narcissist, I'm not very good at it. But I want to ask you, tell us, what is a narcissist and how do we deal with these people, be it in a relationship sense, your friend's married to a narcissist, or in a business sense? Can you tell us a bit, can you just unpack narcissists a bit and how we deal with these characters, or how we support friends who are at the effect of a narcissist? I just want to love to hear your open thoughts.
We urge them to find the path away, to start, to at least contemplate in their lives that they might be having a different life, and they might not be living with this person for too long of a time, or there will be huge complications and damage. There'll be damage. The only problem is that a narcissist is so in love, with themselves, that if you have the nerve to leave them in the wrong way, that's why it takes preparation and talking it out. Never just walk out on the narcissist. Here's what'll happen. They'll take your money. They'll take your life. They'll take your children. They'll take you to court. I've been through this with many a person, and I've gone to court. I've gone to this. There's no.
So have you been to court to give evidence or in trials?
To support somebody, actually just to lend support because they were so lonely. Because usually the narcissist packs people in, to support them. It's a shrewd. Don't take anything away from a narcissist. They have a plan to ruin your life. And if one doesn't work, they got about the rest of their lives to keep on doing it. I know people who have married, who have other lives where the person is still coasts into their life just to give them an emotional punch or a financial thing. They'll pull the finances out. They'll pull your children away. They'll mess your children's heads up through talk and through confusing kind of things you don't do with children. And this is the way. The only way out is to find your way out in a very coordinated, and that's still not going to play out so well for you. It's still going to hurt you, but it's not going to hurt you as much as someone who just goes, "Today I'm leaving," because let me tell you, they got so much up their sleeve. It's a scary thing, and it's a mistake we make. You don't set out to marry a narcissist. Narcissists are very shrewd and they're cute, and they know how to be charming. They're the most charming. To you, they would hit you in the face. To the people, at the church, or the synagogue, they're like the greatest people, the founders of the great founders of the world. They know how to, play into other people's hands. They're just excellent.
So are narcissists evil?
I think so.
I think so.
I think that they're evil, and what they do, the evil that they wage, it knows no bounds and it knows no boundary. Children, women, relatives, grandparents, it knows no bounds. They have no remorse. they don't know that they're doing what they're doing. And if you told them, I mean, I once had one kick me out of his house because there was an event that I went to, and I was very supportive of his wife, but there was a congregational event, football game. So I said, you know what? I'm going to see the football game with everybody else. He had me removed by the police. He had the police remove me from his house because I supported his children when they came to me, in fear, in complete fear. So trust me, I've had it like direct
I
walked,
believe you, Zev.
yeah,
I
I
believe
walked
you.
into the storm. I walked into the storm.
Yeah. So you're saying if let's say you're stuck with a narcissist in business, you're dealing with a narcissist, one of your friends is married to one, the only solution is to carefully and strategically get out of there.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but you're saying carefully and strategically.
They're absolutely that. Never knee jerk. A knee jerk will cost you in ways you couldn't even imagine. Because
Wow.
they invent things, I think they go to sleep at night and they wake up, with newfound ways to persecute the person who they think has hurt them. They feel that you dared to leave me. How could you leave me? Well, you're a big, what? So I left you, but it won't stop. So it
Wow.
exists. People have to know this. And the thing I would tell people, ask questions, just like you are. Who am I living with a narcissist? Is this, so that you could get at least a reasonable definition and somebody to support you through the process, because you're going to
So
need.
what are your top 3 ways? A bit like a resistance fighter spotting a Terminator. What's your top 3 hints for spotting a narcissist? What's the top 3 things? Like, do they have scales? Are they green? Do they hold plasma rifles? How do you spot it? Top 3. How do you spot a narcissist?
They're not about you. They're always about themselves. They're always about. I mean, that is a, narcissist. The famous. He looked in the water and he saw himself, and that's the origins of narcissist. He looked in that, and that's all he sees is himself. He doesn't see the terror and the craziness that they put on people. But narcissists, I mean, there are different theories also. And I would, if I thought I was living with one, I'd be at a bookstore. I'd be at a bookstore reading about the different theories so that you could match behavior against what you're experiencing, rather than just listen. Someone told me you're a narcissist, and you're going to be in big trouble too. You're going to get a knock on your door. You told my wife I'm a narcissist. In your mind, you're thinking, that ain't the only thing I told your wife, about you. But
Wow.
you can't say it because what the circumstances are.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. You got me really thinking. So, in that note, let's say you have, and this is actually, I'm asking this question very directly. Let's say you have a friend or someone close to you, male, female, gay, straight, don't care, whatever, but they are with a narcissist and they want to get out and they're struggling. I suppose referring them to you is a great step. What are some other tips that you can give to us to help us support people leaving narcissists, or at the very least managing narcissists? What are some of your top tips?
They have to have somebody who they really trust, a trusted friend, a trusted professional. Doesn't have to be a professional, but somebody who's so they're not feeling so alone, and that they can say these things to. I mean, believe me, it puts the fear in you to even say what the things that you want to say. So I think that's a really important thing. Get support network set up first and foremost before you do anything. Okay,
Wow.
unless you're in physical danger. If you're in physical danger, you got to go.
Yeah, gotcha.
And you got to disappear, not to where they don't know where you are. I mean, look, I've seen children emancipate themselves from narcissists. I've seen, I mean, it does happen, and it's one of those unfortunate things that you don't know until you're in it, because you've been charmed.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know about charming people. I mean, they wield a lot of power and manipulation, and manipulation, exponential manipulation. And
Incredible.
you,
Incredible. So,
you hear a lot of this because you should have. You know what? You should have a big ear. You should have two big ears. But I mean, you should wear them because people are, two people are whispering in your ears from both sides. I understand.
wow. I get a lot. So, love this. So now I want to move to something a little less extreme yet very relevant. Two wonderful people who deep down love each other just aren't getting along, right? One of them reaches out to you. How would you try and repair that situation? So in this scenario, both people want to work things out. What would you do? And what are often the top things you do in that situation, Zev?
Usually, it is one person who reaches out,
Yeah.
and a lot of times that one person is female.
Okay.
Many more times than not, and you got to listen to what the particular situation that's going on. If there's just nothing going on, they're stifled, they live in a stagnant relationship where everything is status quo negative, not
Yeah.
status quo positive. They're status quo positive. Um, they don't hear them. And a lot of times, a lot of husbands and wives stop even being able. They're together all the time, but they don't hear a thing each other says. So just the fact that you're listening to this person, they're being heard, and they're getting a hearing of what's going on in their house. Now, look, they could have serious culpability too. I tell all couples, usually, except in narcissism, but a couple has dual culpability.
Yeah.
There's something going on both ways, and need to find out what do you want that would meet your needs, honey? What do you want that would meet your needs? How am I not meeting your needs? I think you have to. I mean, we're in life. We have our needs. If they're not being met, there's going to be problems, discord. So I think we got to find out what that would be my role, is to dig deep and to try to find out where is this thing going off the rails, and how could we, since these two people still have love in their hearts, we hope, because I asked them, do you still have love in your heart? Because if they say no, I don't want to work with them, because that means that it's done. That means that they're having counseling or would be a formality to, and they might even use it as a look. I went to counseling too, and you're still a blah, blah, blah.
Gotcha.
I would also tell people the screaming, yelling and screaming is not a good thing. It's scary. It brings on the flight fright thing. It absolutely sends us packing. And I would, like I said in a post today, be soothing. When you soothe, people get closer, and people need to hear soothing things. Isn't that what we need to do for each other? We need to soothe each other, for better or worse, in sickness and health, in richer or poorer, and soothe me, please. Don't yell at me because you scare the living hell out of me when you do that, and you're not fun, and this isn't happy. And the kids are watching, and they're hearing what we're doing, and they're like sponges, and they're sponging off of this, and it's not good for anybody.
Wow.
Domestic intranquility is a big, wide topic that has become bigger because of our circumstances, where we've been forced to, with the next variant, scariant, whatever you want to call it.
Scary, I like that.
Whatever.
On that note, Lassie and I got our Moderna booster shot yesterday, the first one, right?
Oh.
And I tell you what,
I've had three too.
God, so you're a pincushion. I woke up, the first two didn't bother me. I had the Pfizer 1, Pfizer 2, it was fine. I had a bit of a heart rate, no problem. But I feel hungover. Like, I literally ate like an athlete yesterday, and I woke up feeling hungover on the booster.
Well, on the booster for us, we went one day and we felt great. Everything was great. And the next day afternoon, about 3:00, it exploded. she got 103 temperature.
Oh God.
I was sitting in a ball, chill, like shaking.
So you were like, she was like covered in sweat, and you were like a shell-shocked veteran with PTSD in the
We were
corner.
Tylenol suckers, is what we were. We were reaching for the Tylenol. Thank you, Tylenol. Tylenol saved me from the third jab. That's a new book. Tylenol saved me from the new third jab or something like that.
Got it.
But anyway, go ahead.
Zev, I just want to say, I love where you're going. I just want to ask you, as we wind things up with our wonderful audience, and to those watching live, thank you. Make sure you say hello and like, share, and comment. If you are watching the recording, please connect with Zev and I on LinkedIn and Facebook and all that. Zev, I just want to ask you, what are your top thoughts and advice for anyone watching to improve their relationship? So be it you're not in one, be it you're fighting with someone, be it you're madly in love. What are your top thoughts and advice to people to improve their relationships from wherever point they're at?
The top one is listen. Listen. We got, I asked in a poll, I think last week, listening or talking, which one's better for relationships? Listening. A lot of people just, they get used to the voice and they don't even hear them. I told you this 3 times. I don't remember you telling me that 3 times. Listen to what the sound of your relationship. Listen to the pulse, listen to the vibrations, and you'll know what's going on. If you're not listening and you're just, going through the routine and, you come home, there's some statistics. I don't want to quote statistics, but when people come home, how much time do they spend with their spouse? How much time do they spend with their family? That's scary. Before the pandemic, it was quite scary because people would literally go have dinner and then one person would be down in the office, one person would be reading, very few minutes, kind of scary. So I think more than anything else, Edward, listen, because if you're listening, you're going to know whether things are going well or whether things are going downhill. That's the most important thing, and I would tell anybody that.
Oh, brilliant. Now, and also Bradley Donovan asks, is Zev in Australia? No. In fact, Zev, by the way, Zev looks after clients across the world, but Zev, tell us where you live and give us a bit of detail.
So I live like about, I'd say 20 miles from the White House. If you went up my street and you made a right turn and you drove 20 miles straight, you're going to come, to Biden's Cove.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. But and 35 miles from Baltimore. So I live in a place that's kind of halfway, a little further to Baltimore and a little closer to Washington. But I'm a native Washingtonian. I was born in Washington, D.C. in 1954 when McCarthyism was showing its ugly head.
So you would have grown up with all those Fallout ads and everything. Nuclear war.
Absolutely.
The Russians are coming.
We had all that at school. We dove under the tables. They had us going into the shelters. They said, shelter under the table, like that's going to help you.
Is that little turtle, the duck and cover? That little turtle?
Yeah, that ridiculous, crazy thing to go. Is that going to help you? That is wood going to save you from a nuclear explosion? Yeah. That's what they told us, And we used to sneak into the fallout shelters. All buildings had fallout shelters.
Is that where you make out with your lady friends?
Well, that too. I didn't. You brought that up. It was a good place for that too. But they had these round barrels filled with these fallout shelter biscuits. That if you had to eat one in your life, God forbid, that you would rather, eat dirt than eat this nourishing supposed biscuit that they have. But that's the way it was. What can I tell you? I just wanted to say also that I have a new ebook coming out.
Actually, sorry, I forgot. Please tell us about your webinars, ebooks, and everything.
I have a new ebook coming out, Relationship Success, Keys to Relationship Success. And I have a new program that, I'm calling ExecuCare. I spent 10 years as a well, first I was a drug, right out of college, I was a drug rehab person, and I became a director of a rehab. Then I created an employee assistance program at companies to deal with troubled workers because there was a big alcohol and drug problem at the workplace back then that they weren't dealing with it. Like you go in and people still have cocaine on their nose. It
Is
was
that the PCP era? Are we
it
talking?
it was a little after that. It was more like the Len Bias basketball player who got the big contract with Nike and then died, the day he signed his contract. He was from the University of Maryland where I went to. And from there became a whole big workplace pursuit of, substance abuse. So I went and started my own employee assistance program where I work with executives and managers to help them deal with their troubled workers because they had an investment in some of them. It's not all employees are throwaway. You can spend some money on them. So and this executive care program came about really from my relationship counseling, because I was working with this what I would call a power couple, and she said to him, "You're great at your work. You're the best at your work, but you're not very good at life. You're not very good at our life." And I think that struck him. And from there, I got a client right there, that I wasn't expecting, because it went from couples to more helping this person transform his way when work was over. What do I do when work was over besides going to a bar or going out with this one, or things that are tied to work instead of things that are tied to his health and to stress and to more happy times with his family. Didn't know how to do it. Didn't know how to break through. So now I call it executive care. Even though my major work is with relationships, I'm taking on some of those clients, and they're very, it's very challenging and interesting work. I love having a little diversity, in what I do.
So imagine a lot of those high-performing characters. I'm guessing they'd be quite open-minded. I mean, they'd want to succeed, wouldn't they? Like if they've succeeded in life, in business, they want to succeed in life. I imagine they do everything you say to the letter. Is that the sort of experience you have, Zev?
It's lonely at the top. It's lonely at the top, and people are, there's people in despair. They're just not going to tell anybody because image is everything.
Yeah, you can't show weakness or they'll get you.
Right. I mean, you show weakness, somebody's going to come grab your seat in the boardroom.
Yeah.
So you have to talk to somebody. So talk to a person who's, look, like I said, your business, but I know life. Talk to me about life, be a confidant. And so that's really what it is, to put ideas and to help them rejuvenate the other part of their life, the one where they're not so good at because they've spent so much time doing the other. So it's an interesting life.
Zev, beautiful. And friends, I was just going to say, if you've been watching live, thank you. Feel free to like, share, and comment, say hello. And if you're watching the recording, please reach out to Zev and myself as well if you haven't already. Zev, I'll let you get back to raising hell and doing what you do well. I just want to give you the final word and closing thought. Leave us with something to keep us thinking and winning in 2022.
I think that the most important thing we need to do, a lot of people talk about gratitude and kindness as, and it gets used and overused and all that. But I can tell you, there's no better medicinal antidote for what we're going through than to show a bit of kindness if you have some despair, because there's a lot of hurt going around, and our world will be enriched and better if the people who are in a position to do it, feeling good about themselves, got their lives in order, can put their hands out and help the people who are falling over, because there are people falling over, over themselves and over their families, and we can do a lot of good. So let's do it. Let's do it.
Beautiful. Well said. Everyone, thank you so much. Zev, appreciate you. And everyone, reach out to Zev.
Thank you, Edward. Great, always great to talk to you on the other side of the world. Enjoy the beach, you lucky dude.
All right, bye, everyone.
I'll just throw a snowball your way.
Snowball. A snowball will not last long in Sydney. Anyway, bye, everyone. Love your work.
Hi.